Hi Dan, welcome to the channel.
Thank you very much for having me, Fred. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to have you on this channel that focuses on real-world use cases of blockchain. So Dan is the co-founder and COO of Fasset, a really interesting crypto platform. Why don't we start by the founding story of Fasset? Why did you guys build this business?
For sure. So look, Facet is a all-in-one financial services platform. The goal with what we're trying to do is bring financial services for people in emerging markets. So all sorts of financial services, whether it's spend, save, invest, all done with the technology of blockchain behind it. Not necessarily in the face of a customer to know that it's digital assets or blockchain in the back end, but the idea really is to use blockchain as a real use case for people to help them with their everyday financial services needs. I originally am from London. My co-founder's from the West Coast in the US. We come from backgrounds where our families are from markets like Pakistan and Bangladesh. So we have a very close affinity to the emerging markets. The founding story is that we became fascinated with what tokenization can do, and kind of what the use cases of tokenization can be, while we both worked at the Prime Minister's office. So prior to Facet, we used to work at the UAE's PMO. In terms of our origin story, while we were at the PMO, we discovered this concept of tokenization, and what tokenizing real world assets can mean, both for asset owners but also for investors. And then we went on a journey to basically set up a company that is looking at that, to really try and solve that problem that I mentioned in the beginning. Our thesis is that digital assets, in particular tokenized real world assets, are a need for people in emerging markets where they do not have access to healthy, investable asset classes locally in their own markets. So whether I'm talking about parts of Asia, Africa, Latin America, the entire emerging world, use cases are developing.
And do you want to define RWA tokenization? Does that mean? Real world asset tokenization? What does that mean in practice, in very simple terms?
It's taking an asset that exists in the real world. So you can think of it as an example, a commodity like gold, or a stock like Apple shares, and it's creating a digital representation of that, that is digitized and effectively securitized on the blockchain. That then becomes very interesting, because when you have a token representing a real world asset, you can do many things with it, right? It becomes, as people like to say, composable or programmable. You can send it, you can receive it, you can spend it, you can do different things with it that you wouldn't be able to do traditionally. And because it's on the blockchain, which effectively is, as I like to say, another highway to transact, or another swift system to transact on, it becomes easier for people globally to be able to buy and sell these kind of assets, in a let's say in a seamless and efficient manner, versus having to go from your local currency in a local market to try to get access to something that is all the way on the other side of the world. Becomes very difficult. There's many hoops to cover, right? From banking transfers to foreign exchange transfers to capital controls to even being able to access those assets requires various levels of intermediaries between. So the whole point of tokenization would be to effectively take away all of these intermediaries and be able to directly access the underlying asset to invest in.
For people in the UK, it's very easy to buy Apple shares because there's lots of brokers who give access to Apple shares. But in places like Pakistan, where you guys operate, or Indonesia, not
Yeah.
many brokers are going to give you access to these Apple shares or the Tesla shares, right?
Yeah, so it's a great point that you've made, right? So let's just take the example of the UK. In the UK, pre the existence of platforms like Robinhood, right, there existed many brokers, right? You could go to a broker, you can sign up, do your KYC, and then get a brokerage account to then get access to these type of assets. What has happened is that obviously a lot over the last 10, 15 years, there's been an increase in the technology, and therefore the accessibility for people in the West to access these kind of technology stocks. So you have the likes of Robinhood, Free Trade in the UK, where you can access shares for very cheap. I.e., what I mean by very cheap, I mean it's very kind of fractionalized, right? So you don't have to actually buy an entire share. You can buy 1/100th of a share, which makes it much easier to access these assets. And it's in your local currency, it's in your local market, it's very easy. Now you go to a place like Pakistan, where you have historically significant inflation where it's actually impossible to access a brokerage account unless you are of a certain high net worth level to be able to buy foreign stocks. You're then in a situation where you will never be able to access that underlying stock. And the irony is that that person that cannot access that stock can still buy Apple products in Pakistan, right?
Hmm.
So the irony is that we can access those products and we can buy them as a consumable, but we cannot invest in those underlying assets. And that is kind of the problem that we're trying to solve.
What kind of RWAs, tokenized RWAs, does Facet offer on their platform?
So today we have, I think, something like 64 assets on the platform. Roughly a third of them are digital assets, so traditional crypto assets. We then have tokenized US public equities, tokenized S&P. We also have tokenized REITs on the platform. So again, we take listed products that exist on the S&P that are tokenized effectively. We have tokenized commodities on the platform. So everything from gold to platinum is available today. And we have a huge pipeline of bringing more, let's say, esoteric, alternative asset classes on the platform as well. So we're working with a provider of real estate in Dubai to enable people to buy tokenized Dubai real estate globally.
What's the split of, if we look at the total amounts that people hold on your platform, what's the split of RWA versus traditional crypto?
It depends on the market, right? So we're operating out of about 7 different markets right now. Obviously, markets that are a little bit more developed, let's say like the UAE, there's actually more interest in crypto assets because there's many platforms out there that they can offer, get access rather to S&P and stocks and shares. In markets like Pakistan, the majority of interest comes from tokenized, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, those type of asset classes.
There's another asset that we are very, very keen on this channel, which is stablecoins, right? So, and you guys sell stablecoins as well. Do you want to explain, what kind of business do you do with stablecoins exactly?
So stablecoins is like I would say is probably the most successful use case when it comes to digital assets today, right? You have everyone from financial institutions to governments to individuals using stablecoins for everything from payments to savings to kind of collecting salary, etc. So we work across the entire subset of customers that are looking to access stablecoins. On the retail side, you have people that are trying to buy stablecoins to maybe hold in crypto and then buy digital assets when they want and come out of it. But more interestingly, the use case that we're seeing in places like Pakistan and Turkey is just accessing USDT or USDC to act as a hedge against local currency, right? So a lot of people are using the ability to buy stablecoins for that reason. Actually, just before this meeting, we had an internal meeting looking at our marketing numbers and kind of the different campaigns that we're running. The most successful campaign that we've had in Pakistan over the last 30 days has been around converting local currency into dollar and just holding it, right? And us being the cheapest provider for US dollar in the market right now. So those are the kind of very interesting retail level use cases. Then if you look at it, the complete opposite on the institutional side, in particular in the UAE. Obviously, the UAE has a tremendous amount of high net worth clients, institutional clients, and then businesses that are looking to on ramp into stablecoins or off ramp in many cases for various use cases. So that's happening live today. We recently onboarded a shipping client that is on ramping 36 million dirhams a month for various vendor payments and salaries, right? And they use USDT because it's cheaper and because there's no delay when it comes to sending funds across. If they have to make 100 payments in one go, it doesn't get blocked by banks effectively. And we have many cases where people want to buy real estate locally or want to make a big purchase locally, but they can't because they don't have local currency, but they're holding it in crypto. So they'll come to us, we'll onboard them as clients, and if they match, and everything's fine, we'll give them local currency here for them to be able to buy what they want to buy. So we have two significant use cases, both on the retail and the institutional side.
Yeah. Yeah, look, the example of a shipping company, using stablecoins to pay its suppliers, I think is just fantastic. I love this non-crypto, businesses that have nothing to do with crypto. You
Yeah.
know, you need crypto to get the right payments in the right form and in the right timing, right? So,
100%, 100%. And I don't know if you saw recently, Robinhood, which is obviously the major broker in the US, mentioned that they use stablecoins on the weekends to settle,
mhm,
because money, banks don't move money on the weekends. So
that's
people are
right.
using these big, major US institutions are now using stablecoins to make settlements on the weekend.
I've heard that your business is doing pretty well. What kind of traction are you experiencing at the moment?
We're seeing 100% growth month on month when it comes to volume right now over the last 4 months on the platform. And in terms of downloads and top of funnel user base, we've had the best month every month over the last 3 months. I think part of it is because we're in a good market right now. Obviously, it's volatile in nature, but I think the overall consensus globally is that digital assets are here to stay. There are real use cases. We don't see ourselves as a trading platform or a exchange where people are just coming to kind of, I guess, just trade basically all day long. Um, for two reasons. One is that that's very cyclical in nature. So when the market does decline, participants go off. And then the second thing, again, it comes down to actually the name of your podcast, right? It comes down to our goal is real use cases of blockchain, right? I'm using blockchain not because, you know, TPS is high or, it's more efficient or, it's algorithmically more superior. I'm using blockchain because it can actually help people to get access to something they wouldn't be able to access before. That's ultimately why we use the technology, the underlying technology that we're using. Not for the sake of it being the technology, but for a use case.
I love the fact that you're using the blockchain because it's better for people, right? I think it's a great way to put it together.
Awesome. I
Fantastic,
appreciate it.
Dan. Thank you so much for being with us today on this channel.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.